What is up, you guys? It's Ashling. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be doing a wear test on the Essence Stay All Day 16-hour long wear foundation. This has been reformulated. It has new packaging. I am doing a full Essence video as well today, so I'm going to just test out the primer while I'm applying this foundation. It's on half of my face because you guys know the drill, especially if you've watched a ton of foundation reviews from me in the past. You know I do half primer and then nothing on the other side. So I'm going to read through a few claims on this foundation, just talk a bit about this foundation just so you can kind of get a gauge on it. So this foundation comes in 6 shades. Essence, please do better. Like 6 shades. I have the second darkest shade here, which is going to be too light for my skin. I've already swatched it on the back of my hand. This one is a nicer undertone for me, so I think I'm going to use this one today. The darkest shade is 30 Soft Sand. Catrice do such an array of foundation shades. Like, again, it wouldn't be the best, but they definitely have a better choice when it comes to foundations than Essence, so I just feel like they really need to do a little bit better. The formula of the Stay All Day 16-hour foundation is free of silicones, parabens, microplastics, particles, alcohol, perfume, and oil. The foundation is a high quality glass bottle with super soft texture, gives the complexion an even smooth look for up to 16 hours and provides medium to high coverage. It's also water, mask and transfer proof. I find that hilarious now that foundations are now adding in that it's mask proof, because that's obviously like a major concern of a lot of us right now, that the foundation holds up underneath our mask. I know that's like my major concern. It used to be all about the oiliness of my skin and can a foundation hold up against that. Now it has to hold up against my oily skin and mask. I remember back in the day trying this foundation. I think this was one of my very first foundations when I was about like 12 or 13, because it was always the really affordable foundation. This is very nostalgic for me. It used to be one that I would wear, like if I was going into town with Lisa on a Saturday, I'd put on a little bit of this, and God, it probably looked horrendous on my skin because I had no clue about makeup brushes or sponges. I just am disappointed to see at this day and age that there's only 6 shades still available. There was always only 6 shades. It just kind of sucks, especially since I am like the darkest in this. It is just gone, it's like 9:58, so we'll say it's 10 a.m. and we're just going to see how this holds up throughout the day. This is the Prime Moisturizing and Nourishing Primer. It's a skin loving sensitive primer with no added fragrance, alcohol, silicones, parabens, mineral oils, and no worries. Going to apply it onto the skin. Feels really nice. I have a sponge and I have a brush somewhere. I did have a brush. I have one here. So these are the products I'm going to use to apply the foundation. Just see what way it goes on better. I'm taking the number 10 Soft Beige because it is the right undertone for me. It's more of like a neutral warm undertone, whereas the 20 Soft Nude is more of a cool undertone. It's not the worst match to my skin, but it's just a bit too light, as you guys can probably see. I don't know if you can see that there. So that is the number 20 over here, and that is the number 10. So I'm going to take the number 10. In regards to price for this foundation, I've seen it from anywhere between €4.50 and €6, so it definitely varies in price, and you do get 30 mils or 1 fluid ounce in the product. So let's give this a go. I'm going to go in with my sponge first and just apply it to this side. Like I said, it's not the worst match. I'm not going to use a darkening drop. I'm not going anywhere today, so we'll just apply it as is. It definitely has a little bit of a fragrance, but I remember this foundation back in the day being incredibly scented. I just remember if you wore it during the day, you could literally smell it everywhere. So they've reformulated this to make it a little bit softer. It used to be quite thick and not as runny, and it definitely has a lot more coverage than I ever remember this foundation having. It's got crazy coverage. I will say that the coverage of this is pretty decent, but it's not cakey or heavy. It actually feels quite lightweight, and I can still see a couple of my freckles peeking through, but it has, for the majority of my face, definitely given me a lot of coverage. Like you can see from this side to this side, there's a lot more coverage. It's evened out my complexion, if anything. I feel like the sponge has done a great job. I did need 2 full pumps of the product just to kind of get a good spread of it over my face. I have been trying an awful lot of foundations lately, like new ones, and I wouldn't need that much product from them. I'm going to go in with my brush on this side. Does this oxidize? I think it kind of does, guys, because the other side looks a little bit deeper than this side. that I've just applied. I will say I'm getting a lot more coverage from the brush, but I prefer the appearance of the sponge on my skin, believe it or not. I just feel like it's given a nicer application on my skin. Like I feel like the brush is almost adding too much product. It's making it look quite thick. I do think that foundation looks pretty decent on my skin. This is a much better formula than the previous one of the Stay All Day. It looks a lot more full coverage. It is a nicer kind of consistency on the skin, and it has more of like a dewiness to it. I know there's like no oils in it, but it's not flat or too matte. It has that kind of oomph in it that gives a bit of life to the skin. Now the shade is not perfect for me in any way, shape or form, but it's pretty okay. Like I can get away with it. A little bit of bronzer and it should kind of unify it on my face. I am not disappointed in this foundation so far. I think this looks pretty decent straight off the bat. What do you guys think? I'm going to just do an up close right now so you guys can see the brush side compared to the sponge. There is definitely a little bit more coverage on this. I use the same amount of product on both sides. I just feel like it's whatever way the brush strokes applied it to my skin that it just looks a bit thicker. But that's the sponge side and that is the brush side. So it is definitely a little bit more full coverage on this side compared to this. Same amount of product, so obviously the sponge is eating up a lot more product than the brush, and yeah, like I said, it's just a little bit more full coverage. But I am not disappointed in this foundation. This actually looks pretty decent. I was not expecting this. So far, so good. So right now I'm going to apply the rest of my products on my face. I'm going to come back in a while just to tell you guys what is on my face and how everything sat on top of the foundation. But like I said, I'm a bit surprised, pleasantly surprised, at how good this looks right now. I will say that it has oxidized just ever so slightly. I'm going to go and finish the rest of my face and I'll come back to you guys in a bit. Hey guys, so I'm just back after applying all the products to my face. I did like a whole essence testing video today, which I will link down below. I just really like this foundation. I am so shook. I said this in my last video when I was testing out essence products, that I'm just surprised that I like this foundation as much as I do, because back in the day it just wasn't as good as this, and it was almost orange on the skin. Like it had a really bad undertone to it. It just never matched my skin, and even the palest shade was kind of like orangey. It really oxidized quite a lot. So I'm actually glad that I found a shade in it. I know not everybody using this foundation is going to have that because there's not a great shade selection, like, let's be fair. It is matching me quite well. I think it looks really nice with everything on top of it. And then I had a look at it in the mirror just a mere moment ago and it just looks so good. The only issue I'm having right now is a little bit of creasing just here on the side of my mouth. It's a little bit more than I would get from most foundations, but like I said, it's not crazy. And there's also always an issue here with like creasing just in one of my little creases just right by my brow. But all in all, I think it looks really good on the skin. Definitely prefer the side here with the primer on it and with the sponge. So I would highly recommend, if you are applying this foundation, to use the sponge. It does use up a little bit of the product, but I feel like that is what kind of blends it into the skin so nicely. It's not adding too much product. I hope that makes sense. So like the more product you apply of this, thicker this looks on the skin. For under €6, this is a pretty good foundation, and if it lasts all day, we'll be doing really well. Like I said, I started this wear test at 10. It is now, it's 11:30, so it's been on an hour and a half. So I'm not obviously going to do like a proper like in-depth detail on how it's looking right now. It's just a little up close with all the products on top of it and just how it is wearing and looking. And I just think it looks really great. Like nothing went on top of it odd in any way, shape or form. Like everything went on lovely. This is the only issue I'm having, just at that fine line. I just can't believe how gorgeous it looks. It looks really good. So I will go about my day and I'll check in with you guys later on just to see how it's looking on the skin. Hi guys, so I'm actually back from my first check-in of the day. It is 2:26, which means this foundation has been on for 4.5 hours. So far, so good. I mean, I'm pretty pleased with the appearance of this. There is a little bit of oiliness coming through just on the unprimed side. I really feel like this foundation needs a primer. It's rare that I would ever make that comment about a foundation because I feel like primers don't make any odds, but today I feel like this foundation would benefit a lot more from a primer. This side is just looking a little bit oily around my nose, and I definitely have a little bit of oils coming through my chin and in between my brow. but I'm not too disappointed in the look of it. Like, again, this is an under €6 foundation. I think it looks really great right now, but the first 4 hours of wear of a foundation, most of them do look good. It's always around the 8-hour mark. So I'm gonna check in with you guys around then. I'll talk to you guys in a bit. It is just gone 6:30. So I said I would pop in and give you my 8-hour update. Well, 8.5 hours. Where is this hair? There's hair everywhere. I'm downstairs watching the Olympics, editing and playing with Noah. So I'm excited to see what this foundation's looking like. So we have definitely a bit of rubbing off around the nose area where my glasses were. I really don't think that any foundation can hold up against my glasses. At this stage, it's been years since I found a foundation that doesn't come off with my glasses. It's just, it always comes off. Even if I powder around that area, it's just gotten really bad lately. I don't know why. Maybe it's the type of glasses that I actually am wearing. Just a little bit more oily than I was at my last little check-in. It is starting to look a little bit heavier on my skin. I've just noticed just with the oils coming through, but it's not bad. This is 8 hours into the wear of this foundation. Like, I'm pretty impressed with it, especially for the price. My skin looks quite radiant with it. It's not flat or matte. It's not rubbing off, and it hasn't oxidized any darker on my skin. I 100% think that the shade that I have is perfect for me. So I think my last check-in will be about 12 hours. Like, I mean, there's not much time left between now and then. I cannot see this changing that much more, other than maybe becoming a little bit more oily. Like, I can't see it rubbing off too much, but who knows. There's just a little up close so you can see what I'm talking about. Just a little bit of seepage here and here, and a little bit of oiliness and rubbing off, and everything else looks pretty decent. You definitely can see that I am a little bit oilier now, but 8 hours in, I mean, I would expect that. So I'll talk to you guys in another few hours and we'll see what this foundation is looking like. It's 10:13, so we're just at the 12-hour mark, or a little bit over it. This foundation has lasted pretty well, and I am very, very happy with the results of this, to be fair. I think it looks pretty decent after 12 hours of wear. It is quite obvious that I'm extremely oily though around my nose, chin, in between the brows. So we can definitely see a little bit of greasiness going on in my skin. But it's not the worst that I've ever experienced from a foundation. And I definitely think a powder could revive this. You can still see my blush, bronzer, and everything has stayed on it. It hasn't melted or faded away throughout the day. Over my nose, it has worn away significantly. And I do feel like the creases around my mouth have become just a little bit more obvious. I 100% think this is suitable for oily skin. I also think that dry skin might like this foundation as well, just because of the longevity of it and because it's not so flat and matte. And if you have tried this foundation and you have different skin types, do let me know in the comment section below how you got on with it, and it does help out other viewers because obviously I can only go on my oily ass self. I have a couple of pros and cons of this foundation. I'm going to start off with my cons first off, and I think it's kind of obvious what I'm going to say here, and that is about the shade range. I've talked about it at length, so I'm not going to go on about it too much longer, but I just think that they could do so much better with the shade range. Like, it's just not good enough. There's not enough shades in it for anybody. Following on from the shades, the undertones are not great either, but I have so many more positives about this foundation. First off, I feel like it's great for oily skin because it holds back my oils for minimum 8 hours. It doesn't break down, it doesn't fade, it doesn't look thick on the skin. I really like the glass bottle. I feel like it's more high-end looking than the old plastic one. I enjoy the formula. It's much nicer than it used to be. I feel like this has been upgraded tenfold, to be fair. I really like how this looks on my skin. I do feel on the prime side the foundation does look an awful lot better. I feel like the unprime side I got a lot oilier a lot quicker. I think I've covered pretty much everything. I do rate this. If you can find your shade, pick it up. It's super affordable. I feel like a lot of people are going to enjoy that foundation, and I'm actually super glad that I gave it a try today because I wasn't even going to bother because of the history of that foundation. I was like, ugh, stay clear. But it's had an evolution. So thank you so much guys for watching today's review and wear test. Like I said, I am super excited to take this off my face right now. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If there's any other foundations or products you would like me to do a wear test on or review, or if there's anything you would like to see coming up on my channel, let me know and I'll get onto it. And thank you again for watching today's video, and I will talk to you in my next one. Mwah. Bye guys.